Hi, my name is Loren Loubser and I am an intimacy coordinator as well as many other things. How I actually started in the industry, I trained as a theatre actress at UCT. So for 4 years, I have a degree in acting, which is wild. And then after many years of being in the theatre, I wanted to discover what it was like in the film industry. And I wanted to learn what it was like behind camera, what sets actually function as, just so that I could actually be a better performer and a better actor. So I started as like a set PA, working base camp with actors, and then I became a third AD. And I smuggled my way into becoming a first AD in the local industry. And once I was the first AD, I realized very quickly that's not what I want to do. But I still kept acting all the time. But I think that being an AD is the quickest way to learn what every single department does. So the job of an AD is to actually be a facilitator of every single department so that everything comes together so that the camera can roll. All the things that have to play, you get to learn about, which made me a really great performer, I think, because I was conscious about everyone's role and what it means for me to be able to stand there and where I need to be and what I need to do. But it also made me really hyper aware of what actors need. And one of the actors, you don't get a whole department. Camera team has a whole department, the gear, the grips team has a whole department, lighting has a whole department, but actor often is alone and doesn't have support. And so I think maybe 3 years ago, Netflix put out a call to ask for South Africans that want to be trained to be intimacy coordinators, to kind of apply and see if you could get in. I think there was over 300 applications and they selected 6 of us to be trained as intimacy coordinators. And so this wild training began, and the journey into intimacy coordinating kind of just took off. Intimacy coordinator is a very new role in the film industry in South Africa, but actually started in 2010, just after the Me Too campaign, because there was a lot of light that was shone on sexual violence and abuse that was happening on set around intimacy, around vulnerable scenes, around nudity, and around actors not having a support system or a team to protect them, and to give them agency to be able to say no, what they're comfortable with, and to have somebody just advocating for them because of the power dynamic of how sets work. A director is often telling you what they want, what their vision is, what they want it to look like, and an actor is not ever in the position to say, no, I'm not comfortable with that, or maybe I could do this, maybe I could try that. You just go along with the journey because you want to be hired and you want to have future roles and you want to seem as you're easy to work with so that everyone keeps employing you. So what an intimacy coordinator is somebody that coordinates, choreographs, facilitates, workshops, co-creates, and kind of brings to life off the page any sort of intimacy, any vulnerable scenes, any implied sex, nudity, showering, kisses, hand-holding, close contact, childbirth. So there's various scenes of what is regarded as intimacy in the film industry, and an intimacy coordinator brings that to life. A lot like a fight or stunts coordinator, where you read what's on the script. Sometimes it just says they make love, and you come up with all these ideas of what they could be and what they could look like and what these bodies are, and then you go to the director and you have a meeting with the director and you get to learn what their vision is, what they imagine all that intimacy could look like, what that making love actually looks like on the screen, and what the story is behind that making love. And then you work with the actors and you find out from the actors, what are they comfortable with? What are their boundaries? What do they consent to doing and to showing? So that's also around what parts of their bodies they are comfortable being touched, but also what parts of their bodies they're comfortable being on camera, and being on camera in the middle of simulation. So if I'm comfortable showing everything, but all of a sudden you squish me against a shower door, I'm not comfortable showing everything. Or you squish me against a body and now we have to move at the same time, I'm not comfortable showing certain parts. So you work in like details with actors, what they are comfortable showing, what they're comfortable doing, what they are comfortable, and what that looks like. I'm comfortable being touched but not squeezed. I'm comfortable having my neck grabbed but not scratched. I'm comfortable kissing all in my face, but I'm really ticklish in my neck. And you get all of those details from an actor. Sometimes for the first time, they've never been asked what they're comfortable with. And then you also look at the character. So beyond just the actor and their body, you look at the character and what the story is behind this character and what the physicality is behind the character and how that would play into the sex or play into the intimacy or into the nudity, how that character would actually move, how much that character would actually show. Are they somebody that ever gets undressed while they are actually having any sort of intimacy, or do they hide? Do they keep the lights off? Are they quite timid, or is something very vulnerable? And you kind of workshop that with the actors so that the character for them is still portrayed through the intimacy, and that we don't just, sometimes we see intimacy, we just do a quick little scene. Nobody worries about the storytelling actually behind that intimacy. And then you bring it back to the director and you say, okay, so you wanted them up against the wall, you wanted them on here, over the table. And this character, according to the actor, isn't somebody that would be up against a wall. This is somebody that would feel really shy and timid and would mostly be on the bed. And these are the type of positions we could play with, and then see what the director wants. And sometimes it's a push and a pull. And sometimes you have to advocate for the actors very gently of like what that could actually look like. And we are not there to direct the actors or direct the intimacy. That still needs to come from the directors themselves, but we are there to facilitate it and to make it like really amazing, to make it look authentic and real and good while being safe. Another part of intimacy coordinating is really safeguarding, and safeguarding not only the actors, but the director and the crew and everyone that's on set. So sometimes we forget that not just in vulnerable scenes, but in all scenes, there's a DOP that has to look down the lens the entire time. Has to like look constantly at the image that's being captured, has to watch that, for the entire day or for the duration. There's a focus puller that is looking at a screen that has to be in the scene, that's, timing and breathing with the actors. There's a boom operator that's in the room that has to aim the mic, that has to look away to be respectful, but is in the room the entire time. And so there are people on that set that maybe culturally, religiously, don't want to see that, or are vulnerable and have been triggered and have their own background when it comes to anything sexual violence, or any sort of violence. And so as an intimacy coordinator, it's also your job to keep eyes and to look after and to make everyone aware that, okay, if you need to, you can tap out, we can take breaks in between. We don't have to just be this machine that like runs for 12, 14 hours of the day. And one of the first times I was on set, I just got to watch people's bodies. It was a really violent scene, and it was an emotional scene, and I was training underneath the amazing Kate Lush. And I just got to watch people's bodies, and you focus so much on who's in front of the camera. So the actors having to do that work and having to get there emotionally. You really look at them and you're like, are you okay? Are you okay? You check in, you time it, like in between takes, not all the time, but I'm just gonna make sure that you are right and I like looking after you, and that you're still able to be there and do take after take, and like, different lens after different lens, different angle. You're constantly having to portray this. But you also have to look at the rest of the crew. Sometimes the background, sometimes it's 200 background that nobody's asking, are you okay? Are you like, all right to be doing this, to be watching this over and over? And so that day I really got to learn how people's bodies very quickly show you that they are not okay. You know, they tense up, their shoulders lift up, they stiff, they don't talk, they avoid eye contact. And so you just have to come and put your hands on their shoulders and ask them, are you okay? You know, get them some water, bring them a sour sweet, kind of just bring them back to themselves. And these type of things you learn in training. There are a few intimacy coordinators in the world that are not trained and not certified and have just done it by practice. Because it's a new role in the film industry, people have had to do this for many years. And you'll find a lot of people tell you that, you know, we've been doing simulated sex scenes or intimacy scenes for 30 years before you came around. So we don't need you. But you still need to be there, not only for them, but for the entire crew and for all the actors and for the background and all the different departments. And so the role is really diverse of like what it actually looks like to be an intimacy coordinator. And it also depends on how much people let you in. Sometimes the actors don't want somebody that's there to choreograph and to, you know, kind of workshop and oversee what they are doing. They want to guide that with the director. And so you're there to kind of watch then and make sure that everyone's safe. And you're there to, you know, to say like, hey, I'm going to come in and tell you that it doesn't look realistic. You're kind of going from like a really far distance, which anatomically it wouldn't work. Or, you know, the kiss is really stiff, like let's just open the mouth and soften a little bit. And you can try and get in and tweak even if they don't want you to be there. And you work with the director to make sure that they're getting what they want. How I got into it through the training of Netflix was around a 6 to like 8 months course of training online. It's a certified course that's mostly run through UK certificates of safeguarding on set, learning your biases and your prejudices and stereotyping that we have to unlearn, child safety and working with children, trauma counseling, and responding on set. So there's like multiple certificates that we had to do that's all online, like different tests and learning and like sitting through these courses that are given to you online. And then through SAIFF Sets, which is a company that South African and the UK and Australia and I think Italy is a collection of intimacy coordinators from all over the world. And SAIFF Sets runs this course in South Africa. So they also do different courses and they did different covering different types of choreography, different types of scenarios, different types of scenes, from violence to teenagers hooking up or masturbation or shower scenes or different positions. And then we got together in the flesh and we did this choreography 10-day workshop of hundreds of different positions and scenarios, and you get to learn how to get an actor into it, how to choreograph, how to make them comfortable, how to work with different bodies, how to make different positions read for camera, how to keep different parts of the bodies covered, to cover modesty garments, and then also how to get the actors out of it and to de-roll and to shake off and to tap out and to squeeze out and to bring them just back to themselves at the end of the day so that they can go home out of that scenario and like not be hypersexualized, and for the crew as well to also be able to do that. We also learned to be able to run workshops around sexual harassment, which is very important on sets because sometimes people are not even aware of what counts as sexual harassment. You know, we are very, especially in South Africa and maybe in Cape Town, we make a lot of jokes on set. You know, we really are a family for that time that we're going through it. We trauma bond, we work through the trenches with each other, and we become really comfortable and we make comments and jokes, and sometimes those jokes are just, you know, borderline, or sometimes it's around somebody's body, or sometimes it's perceived as sexual. And then you are reported and you're not even aware. Somebody else is witnessing it and reports it on their behalf. And you get a scenario on set, and sometimes that's only when they call an intimacy coordinator. So there's lots of like sections of intimacy coordinating that you have to cover, but it means there's lots of work. In South Africa, I think the role of an intimacy coordinator only came within the last 7 years, if I'm correct. And so a lot of people are still learning what that is and what that looks like. But it also means that there's not a lot of intimacy coordinators in South Africa. In Cape Town, there was just 3 of us. Now there's another trained 4. So Kate Lash has gone back to the UK. So there's about 6 of us that are in Cape Town that are trained. I think there's 2 of us that are fully certified, the rest are busy getting certified. In Joburg, there are about 8 intimacy coordinators, and there's maybe 1 in Durban. So there's lots of space for us to actually be filling up and to be taking on jobs and taking on the roles. And yeah, there's lots of opportunity as intimacy coordinators. Everyone has different backgrounds. So like I mentioned that I trained as a theater actress, and I worked in the theater, and I'm very physical, and I have a lot of physical theater, and that allows me to look at bodies in a certain way and to work with bodies in a certain way and to be able to choreograph. But I think one of the great assets to being an intimacy coordinator is that I was an AD and worked in the AD department and got to see the industry from that perspective. So I'm able to work really fast, I'm able to time crunch, and I'm able to work with all the different departments and let everyone know what's happening in this intimate scene and how to close a set and what everyone still needs to be doing. But I also worked in sexual health and teaching consent and pleasure to teenagers and to adults. And I think that made me really sex positive, and to be able to really advocate for scenes to be sexy and to not just, minimize how much nudity we're showing, but to also look at how much nudity we're showing and how sexy a scene could be and how beautiful it could be and how erotic it could be, and to really push that and to lean into it without taking on taboos. But I also got to, see I don't want to advocate and stereotype how we portray, for example, black male bodies and black male sexuality on screen. And so I can, work that and ask the directors to adapt it, ask the actors if that's how they want to portray the character and how they want the sex to look. And I can come up with other ideas. And I think that only came to me because of the work that I've done in the sexual health space. So you can come from many different backgrounds. I would say it really helps if you have some sort of physical background, whether you're a dancer, a choreographer, a physical theater performer, whether you've worked in circus, whether you just are really good with working with bodies. Just because it allows you to have a vocabulary to tell people this leg needs to come up here. That's the thing that's looking a little bit odd. The way we're going to hide that you still fully have a undergarment on is by using your body, is by using his leg, is by wrapping your arms around or wrapping your legs around. Or when he moves his arm up, we're going to move in. And I can direct camera as well because of the directing work that I've done, or the AD work that I've done, or the acting work that I've done. I can say to camera, this top shot that you're going to do, amazing. It covers every single part of their bodies because they're together. But this shot from the back is, for me, a bit grotesque, or it's too much watching somebody from the back, gyrate. We're seeing too much of their buttocks. Or if we need to hide something, we're going to get a camera that's floating, getting handheld, beautiful textures, while this camera is getting a close-up or mid-shot on these two. So you only get to learn that by being on set. There's no ways that you can, as an intimacy coordinator, tell everyone, hey, this is what the shot should be, or this is what it could look like. You need to learn, you need to watch, you need to be there. And so I'm really grateful to myself that I wasn't afraid to go hey, I want to come into the film side of stuff. I'm going to start as a set PA. I'm going to start as a production assistant. I'm going to work in different departments and see how that looks, and I'm just going to watch, because watching is really what's going to get you there. And so if you're somebody that's I haven't gone to film school, I haven't got a movement background, I'm not an actor, but I want to be on set so that I can learn, then reach out to people, be like, hey, I want to be a trainee. I want to learn from your department. I'm willing to start from the bottom. I'm willing to be a runner. I'm willing to be extra hands or just be a trainee in your department so that I can learn. And then if you are in the lighting department and you're just helping them for the day, watch all the other departments, watch the actors, watch how the director works, watch how the AD commands the floor and like lets everyone know what's happening, watch what's on monitor if you can. Ask people stuff, ask other departments, like just really go there to soak up and learn. You can also go to like the free film school that has Saturday workshops. That's all different departments teaching them every single Saturday for free. That's in Mowbray at the Bertha House. I think they start at about 8:30. And you can reach out to them. You can reach out to me. You can reach out to Queer Writers Incubator if you wanted to be a writer or director and you want to learn from that side. Or you can reach out to Safe Sets and say, hey guys, I want to be an intimacy coordinator. I think I have the right mindset and the right, personality to just be there for people and to like safeguard and to look after people and to make the intimacy beautiful and, bring whatever it needs to be. Can I train with you guys? Can I learn? Can I shadow? Can I workshop with you? So that you're able to see what that looks like. There's also a massive gap in the theatre industry. And there's a bit of pushback because, like theatre, everyone workshops on their own. There's a way that theatre has been held. You've got your stage manager and your assistant stage manager and your stage hands. You've got a prop master. You've got somebody doing wardrobe that will bring you something that's going to cover you. And you've got the director, and you as the actor, you're doing everything. You're saying yes and you're having to workshop what that looks like. But the way that we bring in movement directors to choreograph dance is the way that we need to bring in intimacy coordinators and intimacy directors on the stage so that we can direct and choreograph intimacy, so that actors are not having to do it themselves, so that actors are not having to just like go with it, but they are really uncomfortable or are really triggered or are just like, this doesn't look great, like it looks terrible. And now we're just here going with it because we've been doing it for 3 weeks. The same way if there's a fight that happens in a theatre screen, like in a theatre show, we very quickly bring in a fight choreographer and a fight director for stage. So why can we not bring an intimacy director into that? And so we are going out and, the way that we can do that is just by asking directors and actors to go like, hey, if there's intimacy within the show, bring us in. We'll make it look better. We'll make it feel better. We'll make it, work better. We'll come up with some positions that just like work better for what works for camera doesn't necessarily work for stage. And so we need people in those positions to be doing that. If you are a fight coordinator, but you want to be trained in intimacy so that you can choreograph intimacy, it's a great space for stunt and intimacy to work together. If you're a movement director or a choreographer and you just want the intimacy to be a part of what you choreograph, then you can bring that in as well. So there's many backgrounds that you can bring into intimacy coordinating, and there are many sides of intimacy coordinating that, we can tackle.